As I said, the hashtag we're using is modern day slavery.
We look forward to hearing your views on that. But right now in studio with us is Hussein Khalid. Now, he is the director of Haki Africa, and he's been working severally with cases like these where people are going to look for greening pastures in places like Saudi Arabia and actually coming back very disappointed. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me, Nancy.
And you also were the executive director of Muhuri, which is Muslims for Human Rights.
Yes.
And you did work with these cases. So you've been working with these cases for a long time.
For a couple of years now, yeah.
Now, we've seen today 50 women coming back home very disappointed. But if we go back to 2012, the government put a freeze on recruitment of Kenyans to these Middle Eastern countries. It was lifted in November 2013. Fast forward today, we're still seeing the same situation.
Yes.
How is it that we're still in this cycle? Why have we failed to control this problem?
I think, first of all, we need to understand the problem and get to know exactly why are Kenyans moving to seek for jobs in foreign countries. The problems that we are having within our communities, particularly at the coast and many other parts of the country, is that there are no jobs. There is no employment, such that people are so desperate that they're willing to risk their lives, even though they hear of horror stories, people coming back in coffins and so on and so forth. So that's the first point. How do we make sure that we are able to provide the necessary support for the youth to be able to earn an honest living within their own country? But having said that, as you've very rightfully put it, this is a growing problem. We've had these problems for many years. We've had people who've died. We've had families that have actually, lost their loved ones, never to see them again. And in 2012, after a lot of, hue and cry from particularly civil society organizations at that point in time, the Muslims for Human Rights, Muhuri, we managed to get a freeze on travel. And the freeze was actually meant to give the key stakeholders, particularly the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the Labor Ministry, the agencies, and civil society, time to actually look at and develop a policy that will guide some of this travel. Unfortunately, that was not done. And the problem was that the agencies kept on, putting pressure. And of course, the community members too, that they need to go, they need to find ways of earning a living. And of course, the ban was lifted. What we are having now again is the same situation replaying itself. At the center of this whole mess are actually the agencies. We have agencies that are operating without, regulation from the government. It's unfortunate to hear the remarks that are being made by the principal secretary that you need to go and register. But how do you register? For example, in most of these countries, the moment you land, your passport is taken away, your telephone, your mobile is taken away, you have no means of communicating, you can't even walk in the streets, because if you walk in the streets without any legal documentation, then you'll be arrested. So I think there's a lot of ignorance from the side of the government. They don't truly understand the problems that Kenyans go through. And it's not just Saudi Arabia, it's the Gulf. We have cases from Far East, China and other places. We have cases from even Africa. I remember there was a time we dealt with a case where a Kenyan was killed in South Sudan. So it's a big issue, and the government must do something about it.
You've talked about the agencies. Last year, about 300 recruitment agencies were inspected. Did that inspection not yield any fruit?
Definitely not. If we have 50 Kenyan women who've returned home today very bitter about what they went through, that's very clear. It did not do anything. What we need are proper mechanisms that will ensure that, first of all, these agencies are registered and actually monitored. No person, no agency should be allowed to send any individual before informing the foreign missions that are there. If I'm an employee and I've been sent to Saudi Arabia in some far-off city, say Dammam or Jeddah, the embassy is in Riyadh, I cannot make my way to that place, but I pass through Kenyan borders. When this visa is stamped in Kenya, the Kenyan mission is aware, the Saudi Arabian High Commission issues the visa. There are very many ways that we can actually get this done. When you get picked by agencies, most of these people have not even been to Nairobi, let alone to get the Kenyan mission in Saudi Arabia or Dubai or somewhere like that. So how do we expect them to actually go and register at a Kenyan mission in a country they have never been to. I think it shows that much more needs to be done. The government needs to learn more about this problem.
So if people are in fact going to Saudi Arabia without using any kind of proper channels,
Yes.
how can the government track them? How will they know that someone is in Saudi Arabia and they have a problem if they never actually went to a government agency or even registered?
That's a very good question, Nancy. And the answer is these agencies that are sending these people, if they were registered, if they were reporting to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, if they were reporting, say, on a monthly basis or quarterly basis that we've been able to send so and so to this and this place, that would be able to solve the solution. So we have to emphasize that we must regulate these agencies because they should know where each and every Kenyan is that they have sent to any country.
So we may be able to regulate the agencies, but even when they get there,
Yes.
it does seem that this problem is rather endemic. I mean, we've talked about the laws in Saudi Arabia not actually favoring better treatment
Yes.
of people who go there. There's a
Yeah.
long tradition of slavery. So is there any guarantee at all that, when they get there, the agencies there and the organizations there will support them?
Yeah, well, the best we can do is take care of our own, first of all, in our own country. I mean, Saudi Arabia is a sovereign state. We can't go there and tell them you have to pass this
So
law
maybe
or
we
that
should
law.
tell people not to go at all.
We have done that so many times. We have received people back, and those same people who've come back actually came to our office to report that they're leaving again, barely 3 weeks after they came from horrific stories. And then when you ask them, why are you doing this? They tell you, I have 4 children to feed. What am I supposed to do? I don't have a job. So these are stories that are real, and we must make sure that we protect our brothers and sisters, particularly the sisters who undergo so much torture at the hands of their employers.
I just want to bring in very, very quickly, Kabete MP George Muchai and Kiambu County Women Representative are working on a bill. Do you have any optimism about this bill to protect people who actually go to places like the Middle East?
It's long overdue, and we support that move 100%. What we need to ensure is that we have the stakeholders involved. Let us also listen from the people who are actually coming from some of these experiences. Because if we draft a law that actually does not take into account the experiences of these people, then it will be an exercise in futility.
Right.
So we recommend that, yes, we must have this law. It's what we've called for so long, and let's ensure that the agencies that are dealing with these cases are properly regulated.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was Hussein Khalid. He is the director of Haki Africa. Don't forget, you can join that conversation on Twitter. Use the hashtag #ModernDaySlavery.